The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It hung silently above the planet, twice the size of the International Space Station and shaped like a smooth gray oval. Within hours, every news channel, social media site, and government broadcast was focused on the same thing. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. In Washington, D.C., the president's advisors gathered in the Situation Room. Military generals pointed at satellite images, while intelligence officers tried to make sense of the strange signals coming from the vessel. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," said General Laurie Adams, pointing to a screen filled with unknown symbols. "Our computers are still working on translation, but the pattern suggests it's a peaceful greeting." 3 days later, the aliens made their intentions clear. They were representatives of the Galactic Council, a coalition of 27 different species that maintained peace and order throughout this section of the galaxy. They requested a formal meeting with Earth's leaders. The Secretary General of the United Nations stood before the emergency assembly. "We will send a delegation to meet these visitors. We must show the best of humanity." After much debate, a team was selected. Lieutenant Commander Allison Wright would represent Earth's military interests. She had served 15 years in the Navy and was known for her calm under pressure. Dr. Eric Daniels, one of the world's leading xenobiologists, would assess the biological aspects of the new species. And in a decision that raised many eyebrows, Joe Martinez, a civilian security consultant from Texas, was included to represent the average citizen. Joe looked out of place among the officials and experts. At 45, his face was weathered from years working outdoors. Before becoming a security consultant, he had managed his family's ranch. He wore a simple suit that seemed to make him uncomfortable. "Why exactly am I here?" Joe asked, as they prepared to board the helicopter that would take them to the designated meeting point. Lieutenant Commander Wright adjusted her uniform. "The council specifically requested a non-military, non-scientific representative, someone who could speak to human culture. There are professors for that, historians, writers, and they chose you," Wright said with a slight smile. "Better get used to it." The meeting location was a large field in Wyoming, selected for its remoteness and flat terrain. A smaller shuttle from the alien mothership descended, touching down with barely a sound. The door slid open, revealing the first aliens humans would meet face to face. The Zorathians were tall and slender, with skin that shimmered between blue and green depending on how the light hit it. Their forearms moved with careful precision. Large eyes dominated their narrow faces, and they wore what appeared to be ceremonial robes with strange symbols. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," the lead alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zrel. We have studied your primary languages and customs to facilitate communication." The human delegation responded with prepared statements. Dr. Daniels could barely contain his scientific curiosity, while Lieutenant Commander Wright maintained military formality. When Joe's turn came, he simply extended his hand. "Joe Martinez, pleased to meet you." The aliens looked at his hand with confusion before Ambassador Zrel carefully extended one of his 4 hands. "This is your greeting custom. We have observed this." After initial introductions, they moved to a temporary structure that had been set up for the meeting. Inside, the aliens explained more about the Galactic Council and their purpose in visiting Earth. "Your species has developed faster than most," Ambassador Zrel said. "Usually we monitor developing worlds and make contact after they achieve stable interplanetary travel. You have already established colonies on your moon and Mars without guidance." "We're resourceful," Lieutenant Commander Wright said. "Indeed." The ambassador tilted his head slightly. "We wish to understand more about your species before formally inviting Earth to join the Council. Your military capabilities are of particular interest." Wright described Earth's major armed forces, international peacekeeping operations, and defense systems. The aliens listened carefully, occasionally making notes on devices that looked like thin glass tablets. "And what percentage of your population has military training?" asked another Zorathian who had been introduced as Security Advisor Telv. "Active military is less than 1% in most nations," Wright answered. Veterans and reserves might add another few percent. Joe cleared his throat. But that's not counting civilians who know how to handle themselves. The aliens turned to him with their large eyes. Please explain, Ambassador Zrel said. Well, I never served in the military, but I grew up hunting, fishing, and camping. I can track animals, start a fire without matches, and I've been handling firearms since I was 12. Most people where I'm from can. Dr. Daniels nodded. Many civilians have skills that could be considered tactical. Martial arts training is common worldwide. Outdoor recreation often involves survival skills. Even ordinary hobbies like archery or rock climbing develop abilities that have origins in hunting or warfare. The aliens looked at each other, their skin shifting to a deeper blue. Ambassador Zrel's voice remained even, but Joe noticed a new tension. You are saying that even your non-warriors possess combat capabilities? They're not combat capabilities, Joe said. They're just life skills, things people do for fun or practical reasons. I see. The ambassador made a quick note. And these civilians with predator skills, how common are they? Wright stepped in. Almost everyone has some capability. Different cultures emphasize different skills, but humans are adaptable by nature. Most interesting, said Zrel, though his tone suggested something closer to disturbing. In most species, such capabilities are limited to specialized military castes or naturally evolved predator species. The meeting continued for several hours. The aliens asked detailed questions about human biology, society, and technology. Throughout the conversation, they kept returning to questions about civilian capabilities, resource competition, and conflict resolution. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador Zrel stood. We thank you for this exchange. The Council will consider this information carefully. We would like to extend an invitation. In 6 months, would Earth send representatives to visit our Council station? This would allow for deeper cultural exchange. The human delegation accepted the invitation. As they watched the alien shuttle rise back toward the mothership, Joe felt uneasy. They seemed very interested in how dangerous we are, he said quietly. Lieutenant, Commander Wright nodded. I noticed that too. But why would advanced aliens worry about humans? Because, Dr. Daniels said thoughtfully, we might be the only species they've encountered where a civilian is just as dangerous as a predator. In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Zrel was making his report to the full Council. His skin had turned a deep blue, a sign of serious concern among his species. The humans require special consideration, he told the Council members viewing his transmission from across the galaxy. They do not fit our usual categories. Every human, regardless of their societal role, possesses potential predator capabilities. A gravelly voice responded, a Dravax representative, one of the Council's natural predator species. Are you suggesting these primitive humans are a threat to the Council? I am suggesting, Zrel said carefully, that they are unique. And uniqueness always deserves careful study. The stars shone silently as the mothership prepared to leave Earth's orbit. Humanity had taken its first step into a much larger universe, one that wasn't quite sure what to make of them. 6 months passed quickly after the first contact. Earth governments worked together to select representatives for the journey to the Galactic Council station. After weeks of debate, 4 humans were chosen. Patricia Nguyen led the delegation. She had worked as a diplomat for 20 years and had helped negotiate peace in several regional conflicts. At 52, her calm voice and thoughtful approach made her the natural choice to represent humanity's political interests. Captain Frank Wilson represented Earth's military. He had served in the Space Force for 15 years and commanded one of the Mars orbital platforms. His experience with space operations made him valuable for this mission. Dr. Samantha Gray was selected for her scientific expertise. Her work in comparative biology had earned worldwide recognition, and she had helped develop the first communication systems with dolphins and great apes. Her understanding of non-human intelligence would be essential. The final choice surprised Benny. Kelly Ramirez was a 35-year-old elementary school teacher from Colorado. She had been selected through a global lottery system designed to send an ordinary citizen to represent the everyday people of Earth. Her friendly nature and quick thinking had impressed the selection committee. The alien ship arrived to transport them to the council station. It was smaller than the first vessel, but still impressive, with smooth curves and lights that pulsed gently along its hull. The 4 humans boarded with minimal luggage, as instructed by their alien hosts. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Harmony," said Ambassador Zrel, greeting them at the entrance. "Your quarters have been adapted to human comfort requirements. The journey will take 14 days by your measure." The humans settled into their rooms, which were surprisingly comfortable, despite being designed for different species. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, and the air carried a faint sweet smell that no one could identify. During the journey, the humans spent much time with the ship's crew. The Zorathians remained formal but curious. Another species, called the Viridians, served as the ship's security team. They were tall, muscular beings with thick red scales and sharp teeth. Their movements were quick and precise, reminding the humans of large predators. Kelly found herself talking often with a Viridian named Zal Tor. Unlike the others of his species, he seemed genuinely interested in human culture, rather than just their capabilities. "You teach small humans?" he asked one day as they sat in the ship's observation deck watching stars streak by. "Children, yes," Kelly replied. "Ages 8 to 10. This is considered important work on your world?" Kelly smiled. "Very important. We shape the future by teaching children." Zaltor's head tilted, a gesture the humans had learned indicated curiosity. "Yet you have survival training. Ambassador Zrel's report mentioned all humans possess such skills." "I wouldn't call it survival training exactly," Kelly said. "I like outdoor activities, camping, hiking, rock climbing. I learned some basic skills from my parents and through youth programs." "You climb rocky surfaces and for enjoyment?" Zaltor's sharp teeth showed as he made what might have been a smile. "Viridians climb to hunt or escape danger. Humans do many things for fun that started as survival needs," Kelly explained. "I also know how to start fires, identify edible plants, and basic first aid. Most people where I'm from learn these things." Throughout the journey, similar conversations happened between the humans and aliens. Captain Wilson discovered that the concept of civilian military reserves confused the aliens completely. Dr. Gray learned that most council species evolved as either pure predators or prey, with clear biological distinctions. Humans, as omnivorous persistence hunters, didn't fit neatly into either category. On the 12th day of travel, Patricia Nguyen was invited to meet privately with Ambassador Zrel. "We approached the council station," Zrel said, as they viewed a holographic map of their route. "I must prepare you. Some council members have concerns about humanity." "What kind of concerns?" Patricia asked. "Your species is unusual. In most council species, only military castes possess combat capabilities. Even among natural predator species like the Viridians, there are clear distinctions between warriors and non-warriors." Zersel's skin shifted to a deeper blue. "But humans. Every human has potential for both creation and destruction." "That's just how we evolved," Patricia said. "We needed to be adaptable." "Yes, adaptable." Zrel seemed to choose his next words carefully. "Some see this adaptability as unpredictable, dangerous. Are we in danger from the council?" "No," Zrel said quickly. "But there may be discussions about restrictions on human expansion beyond your solar system. For safety." Patricia's diplomatic experience kept her expression neutral, but her mind raced. Containment was not what Earth had hoped for from this first contact. On the 14th day, the Celestial Harmony approached the council station. From the observation deck, the humans gasped at their first view. The station was enormous, a massive ring structure with spokes connecting to a central hub. Smaller ships moved around it like bees around a hive. The scale made human space stations look like toys in comparison. "The primary ring is 20 kilometers in diameter," Captain Wilson said, reading data from a tablet the aliens had provided. The entire structure houses representatives from all 27 council species, plus various diplomatic missions and trading outposts. As they docked at the station, Kelly noticed more Viridians gathering near their ship. These wore different uniforms than Zaltor and carried what looked like weapons. Extra security? She asked Zaltor. Standard protocol for new species, he replied, but he didn't meet her eyes. The humans gathered their belongings and prepared to disembark. Ambassador Zrel led them through the airlock and into the station. The corridor beyond was vast, with a high ceiling and walls that seemed to glow with their own light. Other alien species moved through the space, some resembling the Zorathians and Viridians, others completely different from anything the humans had imagined. A group of official-looking aliens approached. Most were Zorathians, but among them stood a large, powerfully built creature with gray skin and 4 eyes. When it spoke, its voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I am High Counselor Dravzak of the Dravax Imperium," it said. "On behalf of the Security Council, I welcome humans to Galactic Center." Captain Wilson noticed how the Viridian guards tensed when the Dravax spoke. Patricia saw the slight color change in Ambassador Zrel's skin. Dr. Gray observed how smaller, alien species moved away from the Dravax. Kelly simply smiled and offered her hand in greeting, just as Joe Martinez had done 6 months earlier. "Thank you for having us," she said. "We're looking forward to learning about all your species." The Dravax looked at her hand, then at her face. All 4 of its eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes," it said, "and we have much to learn about humans as well." As they were led deeper into the station, none of the humans noticed the Dravax security officer who stayed behind, speaking quietly into a communication device. Nor did they see the small group of Dravax who watched their procession from a distance, eyes cold and calculating. The invitation to the stars had been accepted, but not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's arrival. The humans spent their first 3 days on the station in a whirlwind of meetings and tours. They met representatives from many species and saw technology beyond anything on Earth. The station itself was a marvel, with artificial gravity, air, systems that adjusted to each species' needs, and transportation tubes that moved people between sections in seconds. On the 4th day, the council scheduled a formal reception to welcome the human delegation. The event would take place in the Grand Hall, a massive room at the heart of the station where important ceremonies were held. Patricia stood before a mirror in her quarters, adjusting her formal attire. As Earth's lead diplomat, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "You look worried," Dr. Gray said, entering the room. She wore a simple blue dress that complemented her dark skin. "Ambassador Zrel told me some council members are concerned about humans," Patricia replied. "They think we're unpredictable, dangerous, because we don't fit their predator-prey categories." Patricia nodded. The Dravax seemed particularly concerned. "They've been pushing for restrictions on human movement beyond our solar system." Before they could discuss further, Captain Wilson arrived to escort them to the reception. His uniform was crisp with Earth's new Galactic Relations patch on the shoulder. "Where's Kelly?" he asked. "Already headed down," Dr. Gray answered. Zaltor offered to show her the council art collection before the reception. The Grand Hall lived up to its name. The ceiling arched 30 meters above them, covered in what looked like moving stars. Hundreds of beings from different species mingled beneath floating lights that changed color gently. Music, unlike anything from Earth, played from hidden speakers. Kelly stood with Zaltor near a display of crystalline sculptures. The Viridian security officer had become her unofficial guide to station life. "These were created by the Luminari," he explained, "a species that communicates through light patterns. The crystals capture their emotional expressions." "They're beautiful," Kelly said, watching colors shift within the transparent structures. Across the room, High Counselor Dravzak watched the humans with all 4 of his eyes. Several other Dravax stood nearby, their gray skin and imposing size making them easy to spot among the crowd. "The teacher speaks often with the Viridian," one Dravax whispered to Dravzak. "Irrelevant," Dravzak replied. "The demonstration begins soon. Are our people in position?" "Yes, High Counselor. All security systems will be under our control in 20 minutes. The reception continued pleasantly. The humans were introduced to more council members, including representatives of the Luminari, who flashed in patterns of blue and gold that their translators interpreted as formal greetings. Patricia was deep in conversation with a group of diplomats when the lights suddenly dimmed. The gentle music stopped. For a moment, everyone looked confused. Then the main doors slammed shut with a heavy sound. Armed Dravaks entered from side entrances, carrying weapons unlike anything the humans had seen before. Guests gasped and moved away as the Dravaks surrounded the room. High Counselor Dravzak stepped onto a raised platform. His voice boomed across the now silent hall. Attention all guests. This station is now under temporary control of the Dravak security force. There is no cause for alarm if you comply with instructions. Captain Wilson moved closer to Patricia and Dr. Gray. Stay behind me, he whispered. One of the armed Dravaks approached them. The human military representative will come with us, he said, pointing at Wilson. What is the meaning of this? Patricia demanded. A security exercise, the Dravaks replied, to demonstrate certain concerns about new species integration. Before Wilson could protest, more Dravaks surrounded him. They led him away, along with other military representatives from various species who had attended the reception. Across the room, Kelly watched with growing concern. Zaltor stood rigid beside her, his scaled skin darkening with what she had learned was anger or stress. What's happening? She asked quietly. Politics, Zaltor hissed. The Dravaks faction has been planning something. I should have seen it coming. Tall Dravaks approached them. Viridian security personnel will report to Central Command, he ordered Zaltor. Zaltor's sharp teeth showed briefly, but he nodded. Before leaving, he whispered to Kelly, They will separate everyone by category. Stay calm. They don't see civilians as threats. Within minutes, the room was reorganized. Military personnel from all species were taken away. Scientific and diplomatic. Representatives were gathered in one section of the hall. Those categorized as civilian observers or cultural representatives were moved to a smaller adjacent room. Kelly found herself with about 20 aliens of various species, none of whom appeared dangerous. They resembled what humans might call prey animals, smaller beings with large eyes, smooth skin or fur, and no obvious natural weapons. A single Dravaks guard watched them from the doorway, looking bored. They think we're harmless, whispered a small, furry alien beside Kelly. Its translator badge identified it as a Mapari cultural attaché. Kelly nodded slightly, taking in their situation. The room had one main door where the guards stood. A second, smaller door was visible behind a decorative screen. The ceiling had ventilation ducts and the walls were adorned with artwork and decorative panels. In the main hall, Patricia and Dr. Gray were kept with the diplomatic and scientific representatives. 2 Dravaks guards stood nearby, weapons ready. This is outrageous, Patricia said to a Zorathian council member. Is this how the council normally operates? The Zorathian's skin had turned deep blue with stress. This is not council authorized. The Dravaks faction is acting independently. Dr. Gray studied the guards carefully. What do they want? To prove a point, the Zorathian whispered. About dangerous species. The Dravaks believe humans should be quarantined to your solar system. In a control room far above the Grand Hall, High Counselor Dravzak watched displays showing different areas of the station. Captain Wilson and other military personnel were being held in a secure area. The diplomats and scientists remained in the Grand Hall. The non-threat civilians were barely monitored. Begin the demonstration, Dravzak ordered. Activate emergency protocols in the civilian holding area. In the small room where Kelly was being held, the lights suddenly went out. Emergency lights came on, bathing everything in dim red. The ventilation stopped with a whining sound. The guard at the door touched his communication device, looking confused. Stay calm, he ordered the room's occupants. A minor system malfunction. Kelly watched as the alien civilians huddled together, clearly frightened. The Dravaks guard stepped into the hallway to report the situation, leaving them momentarily unattended. Kelly moved quickly to the decorative screen and looked behind it. The second door was there, with a simple control panel beside it. She studied it for a moment, then pressed what appeared to be the access button. Nothing happened. The guard returned, looking more annoyed than concerned. He stationed himself by the main door again, occasionally glancing at his communication device. Kelly noticed the restraints on his wrist, simple but effective. She had seen similar restraints used on Captain Wilson when they took him away. The same technology probably secured the doors. She looked around the room, her mind working quickly. The wall panels, the ventilation ducts, the artwork hanging nearby. All potential tools or escape routes. In the control room, Dravzak watched with satisfaction. The prey species react as expected to stress conditions, he said to his assistants. Now watch what happens with the humans. On his display, he could see Kelly examining the room, looking at the guard, testing the second door. She wasn't panicking like the others. She was planning. Exactly as predicted, Dravzak said. Even their civilians think like predators. What he didn't predict was how quickly she would act, or how resourceful a simple school teacher could be. Kelly waited until the Dravak's guard turned away to check his communication device again. She moved quietly to one of the wall panels and ran her fingers along its edge. Years of setting up classroom displays had taught her that decorative panels often hid access points or wiring. The small furry Mipari watched her with large, nervous eyes. "What are you doing?" it whispered. "Finding a way out," Kelly replied softly. "Can you keep watch? Let me know if the guard looks this way." The Mipari seemed shocked but nodded. Kelly worked her fingers into a small gap in the panel and pulled gently. It came loose, revealing a space behind it filled with wiring and small control boxes. Meanwhile, in the grand hall, Patricia noticed the emergency lights had activated in parts of the station. The Dravak's guards were receiving updates through their communication devices. "What's happening?" she asked Dr. Gray. "They're running some kind of test," Dr. Gray whispered. "I think they're deliberately creating emergency conditions to see how different species react." A Zarathian diplomat leaned closer to them. "The Dravaks believe your species should be contained. This may be an attempt to demonstrate why." Patricia thought quickly. "Where did they take Wilson and the other military personnel?" "Likely to the security level," the Zarathian replied. "4 levels above us." Dr. Gray looked around the room, assessing their situation. "And Kelly, where are the civilians being held?" "The adjacent chamber. They consider non-military, non-scientific personnel to be minimal threats." Patricia almost smiled. "They don't know Kelly very well then." In the control room, High Counselor Dravzak was growing impatient. The displays showed the prey species, in the civilian room huddled together in fear, but the human female was now out of camera range. "Where is the human civilian?" he demanded. An assistant checked another display. "She appears to be examining the wall panels, High Counselor." "Interesting. Increase the stress conditions. Reduce oxygen levels by 5% and raise the temperature." In the civilian holding room, Kelly felt the air grow warmer and slightly thinner. The other aliens began to show signs of distress. She worked faster, identifying power lines that ran to the door control panel. If she could redirect power from the emergency lights to overload the door's security system. "Guard-looking," the Mipari warned. Kelly stepped away from the wall panel just as the Dravaks turned toward them. He narrowed his 4 eyes, suspicious of her movement. "Return to the center of the room," he ordered. Kelly complied, moving slowly. As she passed a decorative crystal sculpture similar to the ones she had admired earlier, she carefully took it from its stand and concealed it in the fold of her jacket. Back in the grand hall, Patricia had engaged the lead Dravak's guard in conversation. Using her diplomatic skills, she kept him talking while Dr. Gray observed the control panels near the main doors. "Your species must have a reason for this demonstration," Patricia said. "Perhaps if you explained your concerns directly, we could address them." The Dravak's guard straightened proudly. "The Dravaks are apex predators. We evolved as the most efficient hunters on our world. For millennia, We have maintained galactic security through strength. And humans concern you because you are an anomaly, the guard said. Not clearly predator or prey. Every human possesses capabilities that should be limited to warrior castes. This makes your kind unpredictable. While they talked, Dr. Gray had edged closer to a luminary scientist. The light-based alien was pulsing rapidly in patterns that seemed distressed. Can you communicate with other luminary through the station's systems? Dr. Gray whispered. The luminary flashed affirmatively. The station's environmental controls. Could you send a message to overload them in specific sections? In the civilian holding room, Kelly had returned to the wall panel when the guard was distracted by a call on his communication device. The Mipari and several other aliens now huddled around her, blocking the guard's view. What are you making? Asked a small reptilian alien as Kelly connected wires from the crystal sculpture to the power lines. A short circuit, she explained, quietly. The crystals from the luminary art conduct energy in unusual ways. If I can channel power through it correctly. She touched two wires together. The crystal glowed brightly for a moment. Then energy surged through the connection. Sparks flew from the door control panel and the lock mechanism clicked. The guard spun around at the sound. What's happening? Before he could investigate, all the lights in the room suddenly went crazy, flashing in rapid patterns. The guard staggered, disoriented by the light show. Elsewhere in the station, similar light disruptions were occurring. The result of Dr. Gray's request to the luminary. Kelly pushed the secondary door open. Everyone who wants to leave, come with me, she said to the other aliens. Most followed immediately. The Mipari stuck especially close to her as they slipped into a narrow service corridor. In the control room, alarms were sounding. Displays showed environmental system malfunctions throughout the station. The lights flashed in patterns that seemed to affect the Dravax more severely than other species. The Luminari are interfering with our systems, an assistant reported, shielding his eyes from the flashing displays, and the civilians have escaped their holding area. High Counselor Dravzak slammed his fist on the console. Find them, and bring the human female to me. Kelly led her group through service corridors, following emergency exit signs. Her time organizing school evacuation drills had given her an eye for efficient routes and safety protocols. We need to find the others, she told the Mipari, who seemed to have appointed itself her assistant. Do you know where they might be holding the military personnel? Security level, the Mipari replied. But we cannot access it without proper authorization. Kelly thought for a moment. What about the station's central systems? Environmental controls? Communications? Engineering level, 3 sections down from here. Kelly nodded. Then that's where we're going. Meanwhile, Captain Wilson was being held with other military personnel in a high-security area. The Dravax guards had been explaining their view of galactic security. Predator species like ours evolved to protect, a senior Dravax officer told them. Prey species evolved to create and build. This natural order has maintained peace for millennia. Until humans, Wilson suggested. Precisely. Your species blurs these distinctions. Every human has both predator and prey characteristics. This makes you unpredictable. Dangerous. Wilson leaned forward. Or adaptable, flexible, able to understand both perspectives. Before the Dravax could respond, the lights began flashing in strange patterns. The guards looked disoriented and the security door panel sparked. What's happening? Wilson asked, though he had a feeling he knew the answer. His fellow humans were happening. In the grand hall, Patricia and Dr. Gray had used the light distraction to move toward the main doors. The Zarathian diplomats followed closely. The Luminari are helping us, Dr. Gray explained as they reached the exit. Their light-based communication is disrupting the Dravax systems. Patricia nodded. Now we need to find Wilson and Kelly, a voice came from behind them. That won't be necessary. They turned to see High Counselor Dravzak, standing with several armed guards. Unlike the other Dravax, they wore protective visors that shielded them from the disruptive light patterns. Your demonstration has gone far enough, Patricia said, firmly. Release our people and end this now. The demonstration is not complete, Dravzak replied. In fact, it is proving my point perfectly. Even your civilians think like warriors. Deep in the station's engineering level, Kelly and her small group of escaped aliens had reached a central control hub. The Mapari helped her understand the alien technology. These control environmental systems, it explained, pointing to a panel with flowing symbols. And these manage internal communications. Kelly studied the controls. An idea was forming in her mind, one that might demonstrate something important to the Dravaks about what really made humans different. Kelly worked quickly at the control panel, with the Mipari translating symbols she didn't understand. Her plan was taking shape. Can we access the station-wide communication system from here? She asked. The Mipari pressed several controls. Yes, all announcement systems are now available. And the environmental controls for individual sections? Also accessible, the Mipari confirmed. What are you planning? Kelly smiled. Not what the Dravaks expect. In the Grand Hall, High Counselor Dravzak was still confronting Patricia and Dr. Gray. The flashing lights had stabilized, but the station's systems remained disrupted. Your demonstration has proven nothing except that you're willing to endanger diplomatic relations, Patricia said firmly. On the contrary, Dravzak replied, it has shown that humans, even civilian humans, react with aggression and cunning when threatened. You are too dangerous to be allowed free access to the galaxy. Dr. Gray stepped forward. You've misunderstood our species entirely. Humans aren't inherently more aggressive. We're adaptable. We evolved to survive through problem-solving, not through specialized biological weapons or defenses. And that makes you unpredictable, Dravzak insisted. Suddenly, the station's announcement system activated. Kelly's voice echoed through every section. Attention all station residents and visitors. This is Kelly Ramirez of Earth. The Dravaks have taken control of the station to demonstrate that humans are dangerous. They've created artificial emergency conditions to test our reactions. In the security level, Captain Wilson and the other military personnel listened intently. The Dravaks guards looked up in surprise. Kelly continued, instead of fighting back, I'm going to show you something else about humans. I'm adjusting environmental controls now, not to harm anyone but to help. Each section will receive optimal conditions for the species inside it. True to her word, the environmental systems began to change. Temperature, lighting, and atmospheric composition shifted throughout the station, becoming perfectly calibrated for each area's occupants. Areas with multiple species received balanced settings that were comfortable for all. In the engineering level, Kelly kept speaking while adjusting controls. Humans didn't evolve as pure predators or prey. We survived because we could adapt and work together. Yes, we can be dangerous when threatened, but that's not what defines us. The Mipari watched in amazement as Kelly calibrated systems she had never seen before, drawing on her experience with classroom environmental controls and her understanding of different needs. What truly defines humanity is our ability to see problems and fix them, to understand different perspectives and find solutions that work for everyone. That's what makes us unique in the galaxy. In the Grand Hall, Dravzak watched as the harsh lighting adjusted to a warm glow that was easier on everyone's eyes. The temperature settled at a comfortable level for all species present. Even the air composition balanced to accommodate diverse breathing requirements. Patricia noticed something remarkable. The other species in the hall were looking at Dravzak and the Dravaks guards differently now. Not with fear, but with disapproval. Zarathian council member stepped forward. High Counselor, this demonstration is over. You have violated council protocols and diplomatic immunity. More council members joined in, their confidence restored. The balance of power was shifting. In the security level, Captain Wilson found that the door to their holding area had unlocked during the system's reset. He led the military personnel out into the corridor, where they found confused Dravaks guards, unsure what to do now that their demonstration had taken an unexpected turn. I suggest you stand down, Wilson told them calmly. This has gone far enough. Back in engineering, Kelly finished her adjustments and turned to her small group of formerly captive aliens. Now, we need to rejoin the others. The Mipari touched her arm gently. You could have used these controls to harm the Dravax, to lock them in sections with unsuitable conditions. Kelly nodded. I could have. But that would have proven their point about humans being dangerous. I wanted to show them something else about us. When Kelly and her group reached the Grand Hall, they found the situation transformed. Council security forces, not Dravax, were now in control. Patricia was speaking with a group of council members while Dr. Gray examined some of the aliens who had been affected by the environmental manipulations. Captain Wilson arrived at almost the same time from the security level. He nodded respectfully to Kelly. Nice work, teacher. High Counselor Dravzak stood under guard, his four eyes blinking rapidly in what might have been confusion or anger. When he saw Kelly enter, he straightened himself. You prove my point, human, he said. No civilian of any council species could have done what you did. You think like a warrior. Zaltor, who had been released from Dravak's custody, stepped forward. No, High Counselor. She thinks like a human. That is something different entirely. A tall, elegant alien with silvery skin approached. The other council members moved respectfully aside for her. I am Chief Counselor Elamith, she said. On behalf of the full council, I apologize for this incident. The Dravax faction acted without authorization. Patricia performed a formal bow. We understand. Every society has those who fear what they don't understand. Indeed, Elamith replied. But this incident has been educational for all of us. She turned to Kelly. You had access to systems that could have been used as weapons. Instead, you chose to help all species, including those who had imprisoned you. Kelly shrugged. That's what teachers do. We solve problems. Over the next few days, the council held emergency sessions to discuss the incident and humanity's place in galactic society. The humans were invited to attend as observers. During one session, a Zorathian philosopher presented a new theory about human evolution. Most council species evolved as either predators or prey, with clear biological roles. Humans evolved differently. They became neither specialized hunters nor specialized hiders, but specialized survivors. Captain Wilson nodded in agreement. Earth has highly varied environments and changing conditions. We had to adapt to everything from Arctic cold to desert heat, from mountains to oceans. This explains why even your civilians possess what we would consider survival skills, the philosopher continued. Your entire species evolved to be ready for anything. On the final day of their visit, the council voted unanimously to welcome humanity into galactic society. There would be no restrictions on human movement beyond their solar system. Your species brings a unique perspective, Chief Counselor Elamith told them during the closing ceremony. You bridge the divide between predator and prey in ways we hadn't considered possible. As the humans prepared to return to Earth, Kelly found Zaltor waiting near their ship. I will visit your world someday, the Viridian said. I want to learn this camping activity. Kelly smiled. I'd like that. There's a lot our species can teach each other. Back on Earth, news of the Council's decision was met with celebration. Humanity would join the galactic community as full members, with all the opportunities and responsibilities that entailed. 1 month later, Kelly stood before her class of 10-year-olds. A new student sat in the front row, a small Mipari child, whose family had been among the first alien diplomats assigned to Earth. Today we're going to learn about the galaxy, Kelly said, activating a holographic display showing the stars. And our place in it. A human boy raised his hand. Ms. Ramirez, are humans predators or prey? Kelly smiled, remembering Zaltor's words in the Grand Hall. Neither. We're humans, and that's something altogether different.